Do you feel dragged down by these negative thoughts? Do you feel you're in this perpetual cycle and not able to move beyond, and you're feeling stressed and anxious because of it? Do you feel that no matter how hard you try, things just don't seem to be working out, and a flow of negative thoughts keep pouring in your mind? You're not alone. We all have moments of this negative thought attacks that come about. But the good news is we can work with it and we can overcome it, or we can navigate through it. And that's exactly what we are going to be talking about today, to learn how to overcome 4 unhelpful thinking patterns that's keeping you playing small. So the thing is, we have these automatic thoughts that just perpetuate in our mind. It just comes so spontaneously. So we want to recognize what are the predominant thoughts that's coming and how do we navigate. So the purpose of this video is, number 1, you'll be able to recognize what these unhelpful thinking patterns are, how they might be playing out in your life, and most importantly, how you can implement strategies right away to be able to incorporate and change these unhelpful thinking patterns to navigate through this. So stay tuned right till the end so that you get to hear exactly how you can bring about the shifts in your life. Welcome, my name is Salma Ghaznavi and I coach high achievers to joyfully accept themselves and find inner peace without any judgment and without any blame. And one of the things that keeps us really held back is our thoughts and emotions that come about as a result of this. So the 4 unhelpful thinking patterns that we're going to be talking about today is catastrophizing. It is a black and white thinking, mind reading, and personalizations. We'll look at each one of these, and as we do, just reflect on how this might be playing out in your life so you can go about and take control and change. The first key to anything is to be able to become aware, recognize it so that you can go about and change it. Catastrophizing. What is it? Catastrophizing is when we have this worst case scenario thinking, when there is something small happens but our mind blows it out so much out of proportion that it just becomes so enormous and it causes extreme anxiety and stress. So it could be something as simple as someone exhibiting a headache, and they are now interpreting this headache that they have a tumor. Oh my goodness, I have a tumor, I'm going to die. There are people, absolute respect for everyone, but the thing is, let's get aware if we are actually exaggerating something when it's something so small. Or let's say your spouse comes home from work a little late and you're catastrophizing this whole thing to mean that this person, your spouse, is having an affair. So just become familiar and recognize if you might be catastrophizing in your life, in any area of your life, whether it's relationship, work, health, social gathering, and so on. Just become really aware of it. The second unhelpful habit or thinking pattern is black and white thinking. And black and white thinking, as the name suggests, is extreme thinking. It's either black or white, nothing in between. So let's say you have a child and your child throws a tantrum, and now you're giving it a meaning to mean that you are an awful parent. There might be so many factors why this child is throwing a tantrum, but this means that you're an awful parent. This is black and white thinking. Let's say that your spouse is distracted, right? And you're giving it a meaning that your spouse is not interested in you anymore. So how might this be playing out in your life? Become very aware of it and become really honest. Reflect. The third one is where we are mind reading, and as the name sometimes suggests we are assuming we know what the other person is thinking. So let's say a friend did not invite you for a party. You get to know about it, and how do you interpret this? You interpret this as, she does not value my friendship anymore. Or let's say that you didn't do well your job in a particular assignment, and you're thinking that, oh my god, my boss is going to think, my manager is going to think I'm such a sloppy worker, I'm never performing well, and so on. You're just mind reading, and usually this comes about as an assumption. Become aware of that. And the fourth one is personalization, and I've seen this being a really common occurrence, where we think other people's reaction is because of us. So let's say that you are in a social gathering and there are this group of people and they are laughing, and what you're personalizing it as is that they are laughing at you, they're making fun of you. You're just taking it personally. They might not even be talking about you, but you're just assuming that they are, and that you're part of this team and the project was a failure. You're personalizing it is that it was you, because of you the project failed. There might be so many other factors that cause the project to fail, but you're personalizing it as you being the reason for the project failing. So become really, really aware of this, and this might be something that you might be exhibiting. Very, very important. So let's see how we can now shift this. How can we actually, so we understand the 4 unhelpful thinking patterns, but how do we actually shift it so that we can manage this much more better? All right, so let's look at some practical strategies. The first one is recognize how this pattern might be playing out in your life, in any area of your life, whether it's work, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, spirituality, money, wherever. See how this might be playing out in your life. Recognize it. Now this is something, as you're doing this work, guys, I just want to tell you that please show self-compassion. This entire journey is about being compassionate to yourself, not blaming yourself, not belittling yourself, because that is defeating the purpose. This is just that you're becoming curious and you're becoming more and more like a self-detective, so you understand how your thought patterns work so that you can go about shifting it. So recognize where it's happening, how it's showing up, and as and when you recognize it, instead of reacting, instead of assuming right away, take a deep breath before reacting, because now you're creating a gap between the stimulus and the response. You are creating this gap where you can now manage and decide how you want to navigate it. So just a breath, maybe a couple of breaths. And as you do that, number 3 is you start maintaining a thought journal. Write down this awareness as it comes to you, as you recognize it, and perhaps you can do it for 21 days continuously. At the end of the day is a good idea, because you then can take an assessment of exactly what transpired throughout the day, or you can do it in between and fill it up as you go. So maintain this thought journal and start recognizing what is really happening, without judgment, without blame, without shame, without guilt. You're just looking at it, and acknowledge yourself for doing this work. Number 4 is reframe your thinking patterns, right? You recognizing it, you have the thought journal, now you want to start reframing it by asking some powerful questions, because what is happening, why those automatic thoughts are coming, is because those are unfiltered. Those are programs that are running automatically. But when you start asking powerful questions, your mind is like an internet. It will start looking for answers which are powerful. So ask powerful questions to get powerful answers. All right? Ask, what assumptions am I making here? Is this thought serving me? How can I look at it differently? What evidence do I have for it or against it? How can I have a perspective shift and so that it actually supports me, this thought? How can I think differently? So start asking yourself these questions, and as you do, you will start getting more and more autonomy on your thoughts. Your thoughts won't rule you now. You are actually a step ahead of your thoughts. And fifth one is celebrate your wins, no matter how small, right? As and when you recognize these thoughts, applaud yourself for it, acknowledge yourself for it. You know, you're doing a great service to yourself as you're doing this self-work. Are you acknowledging yourself for that? I mean, this is victory over the mind. It's victory to be able to create greatness in your life. So acknowledge everything and celebrate your small wins. So to recap, the 5 steps are, the first one is you want to recognize which is the unhelpful thinking pattern that's showing up. And as you do that, when you recognize it, you want to take a deep breath, so you create this break in between your automatic responses. And then you want to maintain a thought journal. Number 4 is reframe it by asking powerful questions. And fifth one is celebrate your wins. Acknowledge the work that you're doing and celebrate your wins as and when you progress, or as and when you're doing the work. And all this, you want to do it with complete self-compassion, right? So, you know, Walt Disney, by the way, in his early days, he used to work for a newspaper, and he was fired from his job because he didn't have enough good ideas. He lacked imagination. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Imagine if he had bought into that. He faced a lot of challenges. It's not like Walt Disney got created overnight. It was a gradual process. But the thing is, did he catastrophize what was told to him? Did he have black and white thinking? Did he personalize it? He had a vision which went beyond any of that. He knew for himself what he could create. He had that conviction, right? And you do too. You are a creator. You're meant for great things. So start getting hold on these unhelpful thinking patterns and start creating your magical life. I love you much. Stay blessed. Stay well.